Maybe you can give an outline for the audience exactly what Russia has just militarily accomplished with the Berezovsky missile, the Poseidon underwater torpedo. There's the Oreshnik from earlier in the year, the Khabarovsk nuclear submarine. I believe the Samarta.
It's a nuclear sub to deliver Poseidons. But the real big thing are the Poseidons themselves.
And Putin also intimated another missile coming out soon, a heavy payload hypersonic missile.
Apparently, not only one, but 2 or 3 within the next few months and all the way to 2026. It's non-stop. Well, look, maybe we can say, I'm not a nuclear expert, of course, but we probably could say with a good degree of certainty that the most revolutionary element of these latest breakthroughs are the miniaturized nuclear reactors. And in fact, Putin actually said that. We can use these miniaturized nuclear reactors even for space exploration. So there are so many possibilities of using these miniaturized nuclear reactors, and they are not exclusively military. So this is a major breakthrough. Yes, there's going to be a new Sarmat soon, probably next year. And it's crazy because the Burevestnik, it's even more powerful than the Sarmat. So they're upping the ante all the time. And of course, it's in terms of the continuity of their breakthroughs in nuclear energy, nuclear power, and nuclear power applied to ballistic missiles and hypersonics. Nobody comes even close to them. Well, okay, the Chinese way behind, and the Americans, wow, 2-3 generations behind. So the civilian applications are going to be as important as the military applications. And obviously, picking up on what our friend Grandmaster Taoist Sergei Lavrov said a few days ago, after those tests, there was essentially a thunderous silence across the West because they didn't even know what was going on. So they couldn't even say anything because they couldn't even place that anywhere. They didn't have the conceptual frame to place these tests and how important they are. So this is another example of Russians keep doing what they are doing the Russian way, without boasting, without bragging. When they test something, it's because it's already there, and they tested zillions of times before. And then when they have a practical test, it's just, okay, this weapon is ready to go online. And it goes online. And now they are already producing Oreshniks, serial production of Oreshniks, which was tested only a few months ago. It's a completely different mindset and process compared to the American process, which is basically bragging. We have the biggest military in the history of the galaxies and all that. Well, okay, show us your hypersonics. Do they work? Do you have them? Do they work? Well, there you go.
When he was awarding the developers of Berezovsky and the Poseidon state awards, he said that these weapons will achieve strategic parity for the entirety of the 21st century.
Exactly.
Yes. Talk about what that means to you, Pepe. What kind of message does that send?
Danny, you know that Putin doesn't go for hyperbole. He's a very measured, cool, calculated guy. So when he says something like this, we're talking about the next 75 years. It's because his scientists briefed him on the civilian and military applications of these, especially these miniaturized nuclear reactors, and they are already working on them. So obviously, he put it in this absolutely, this is like a thunderbolt from Zeus, this sentence in itself. This means it's not only strategic parity, but it's strategic deterrence and being above any peer competitor. In fact, there's only one, the US, for the rest of the century. Wow. Can you imagine how this is being not digested in the Pentagon by the Secretary of Forever Wars himself?
He has been silent, just like NATO, Mr. Hegseth, but who has not been silent, and I'll play this. This is the AI reaction that Donald Trump gave to really what the timing is just absolutely not coincidental. It is in response to what Russia has just laid out. Here we go.
The United States of America has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office, where I rebuilt the military. Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it having to do with nuclear weapons, but I really had no choice. Russia is second in line, and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately.
I mean, the kids would call that AI slop.
Yeah. For decades. The first Russian reaction is, does he know what he's saying? Obviously, immediately they concluded that he had no idea what he's saying. And that's why Putin and Belousov, they have been very, very careful to say, okay, if he actually said that and he's ordering American nuclear tests from now on, we will do our own nuclear testing as well. Right. Obviously, but there's no question about that. And obviously the Chinese will also do it, the North Koreans, India, Pakistan, everybody. Yeah. It's now open nuclear testing open season.
Right. And I want to clarify with everybody in the audience who just saw that some are saying this is AI, this is AI. Yes, Trump often releases AI, what kids would say, AI slop. That was AI, right. But that was the official message coming out of Washington.
But this was an official message. And it was taken very, very seriously by the Russians. Very, very seriously. So they are now, okay, let's wait a little bit. Let's see if it comes back to the issue. And let's see if there's some movement toward testing. If that's the case, we're on as well.
Vladimir Putin was sitting with the Defense Council right after these meetings, right after that announcement, saying,
yes,
we will take equal and reciprocal measures on this. We've heard Sergei Lavrov, we've heard, I guess we say, quote unquote, the Kremlin or the Russian government say that they are not against giving trading weapons, supplying weapons to friendly countries. We've had lawmakers inside the Kremlin say that about Venezuela, but we know about the Iran situation and all the rumors swirling about that. But we know that Russia's military trade is also a part of what they do with these countries, no doubt.
Exactly. Probably there's going to be a BRICS conga line arriving in Moscow. Okay, we want to shop. We want this. It could happen, certainly. And of course, assuming that the Russians have enough production capacity to deliver and to fulfill all these possible contracts. India is going to be one of the top customers. No question about that. Well, but going beyond, let's say, a conga line of BRICS nations interested in Russian firepower, know-how, etc., we still need to go back to the nitty-gritty of this on-the-ground hybrid war against the global South as a whole, against some BRICS nations, against prospective BRICS nations like Venezuela, or BRICS partners in the case of Nigeria. Trump already said that sooner or later the US is going to intervene in Nigeria. So that brings us to one of the key issues 1 year after the very successful BRICS summit in Kazan last year. Is BRICS as a group working on a concerted strategy to at least stare down the empire unleashing its fury, revenge, impotence, hate, pure hatred, ideological hatred all across the global south. How cohesive is BRICS on this matter? We don't know. We don't know, and there are many signs that this cohesiveness is still not there. This is a geopolitical issue. It's a military geopolitical issue. It's quite different from what BRICS agrees in geoeconomics, and especially what they agreed last year in Kazan, and what, of course, they continue to implement. And this BRICS lab, as I call it, is still testing all different alternative settlement systems, etc. I'll be in Moscow in a few days, and I'll have an on-the-ground update on where this is going. I even have my first big meeting as soon as I arrive in Moscow will be to discuss that, in fact. Very, very important. But on the geopolitical unity front, it's much more complicated. And, of course, inside BRICS, we have players that are, well, dodgy is a lenient way of describing them. I'm talking about the United Arab Emirates, for that matter, which, by the way, in Sudan is pitted against another BRICS member, Egypt. They are on opposite sides in Sudan. And Sudan, of course, the Americans are also looking at Sudan. Of course, in terms of Africa, there are so many different hotspots that the empire can use to destabilize certain regions of Africa. For instance, the French were directly involved, but the Americans are indirectly involved in this latest Al-Qaeda push in Mali, which apparently for the moment is under control. But they'll be back. There's no question. They need to destabilize at least one of the members of the Alliance of the Sahel states. Nigeria, of course, energy producer, and BRICS, allied with BRICS. The war, we should never forget, the hybrid war in different levels is the empire against the whole of BRICS, including the BRICS partners. That's why it's so dangerous. But so far, we have not seen, and I have not heard from people close to BRICS officials in several nations that they are actually sitting down to discuss this among themselves in detail. They discuss a lot on geoeconomics, on settlement systems, on increasing trade in their own currencies, but not an overall BRICS strategy to counteract the empire. And this is something that they should have started this thing yesterday. It's taking too long. And sooner or later, we could have a BRICS member falling, or a BRICS partner falling, or a direct destabilization of the empire of a BRICS member or a BRICS partner. It's extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. But there's still no political will, Danny. Unfortunately, I'm giving you the realist reading of how this thing is going. And of course, we all know that inside BRICS, everything depends on the two top deciders, the Russia-China strategic partnership. And they have so many complicated fish to fry at the moment. So I'm sorry to be a little disappointing on all that, but this is the realist reading, you know.
The three BRICS members that have an orientation toward really accelerating the process are Russia, China, and Iran, and everybody else is kind of playing catch up, especially geopolitically, politically. So it's really up to them, especially Russia and China, who are at a much more favorable position than Iran is, surrounded by vipers of the imperialist order. That seems to be the the need, and you raise, recently Malaysia was just threatened by the U.S. ambassador.
Absolutely.
He said they join BRICS, it's not in their interests. It's in their interest to stay with us.
Even after they treated Trump as one of their sultans. Trump was treated almost like a Malaysian sultan when he visited, with the Malaysians are extremely courteous, hyper polite, gracious, etc. And Trump was it was not enough. And they knew who we're dealing with. They were trying at least to appease the king of the jungle, which they did, but perhaps only for a few days. Not enough. Right, and here in Thailand as well, the Americans are, that they are building one of the largest embassies, consulates in the world here in Chiang Mai, in northern Thailand. Why? Very close to the Chinese border. Right. And obviously the Thai government, they have to be very careful. They cannot antagonize the Americans frontally. There are a lot of American interests here in the whole of Thailand. So it's a complicated, they have to have, although their relationship with China is very, very strong and very important, the relationship between the Thai monarchy and the Chinese Communist Party is very strong. Something that very few people know.
What's so interesting is that Anwar Ibrahim of Malaysia, he was at the BRICS summit. I mean, he was talking about the Bandung and the spirit of anti-colonialism. And then when Trump came, it seemed like the reverse of all of that.
You cannot antagonize him directly, Danny. I think it was Anwar is one of the smartest diplomats in the world and a survivor as well. Did you see one of the things that he said to Trump was extremely sophisticated, but it was a seduction approach that he knew would work. He said, look, I have been to jail. You almost went to jail. So we have a few things in common. Trump laughed about it. Trump got the message. So, you don't mess with a guy who's been to jail, is back, and now is the leader of his country. Same thing with Lula. Lula has also been to jail. You don't mess with Lula. And Trump cannot mess with Lula directly. This is something that he learned even after their brief meeting.
Yep.
And Lula already said, look, if these tariffs continue, I'm going to call him myself directly and say, okay, look, we had a meeting, we had the start of maybe an understanding, and you didn't do anything about the tariffs. So, you have in the BRICS sphere leaders with enough stature and almost a global, in the case of Lula, global appeal, and Anwar, nearly global appeal, who can talk to Trump, face to face. And they're not scared and they're not intimidated.
No matter what BRICS countries do to do exactly what you said, to not confront Donald Trump directly, to appease, to ensure that you don't, and because it's really chaos. So more so than more so than any kind of concerted, if we do this to Trump, we're going to get XYZ attack. It's more so inviting chaos when Donald Trump's temper is triggered. So here's the U.S. ambassador, though, to Malaysia, his threat.
I believe that to the extent that BRICS might, under some circumstances, possibly offer some limited economic benefits for Malaysia, it makes sense that Malaysia would look at it. At the same time, I think that it is very important to recognize where Malaysia's long-term prosperity comes from, which in our view is from its deep integration in Western supply chains.
Oh my God!
With that accent, Pepe, you wouldn't be able to guess that he was trained in the Beltway, right?
No, this imbecile doesn't know anything about intra-Asia supply chains, which are the supply chains that really matter. East Asia, ASEAN, and ASEAN with East Asia, and especially ASEAN China. Obviously, doesn't know shit about all that. Malaysia is also integrated in the global supply chain. But the global for ASEAN starts with the ASEAN 10, China and their partners. And their partners, apart from China, India, and what they call ASEAN plus 3, China, Japan, South Korea. So these relatively large ASEAN economies like Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, they are integrated across East Asia, including South Asia in the case of India, and Northeast Asia, Japan and South Korea. The American market for them is okay, but it's not absolutely essential. Not at all. Not at all. For the smaller countries, it's more complicated because they export, for instance, textiles. They export a lot to Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos, for instance. And it's not by accident that the top Trump tariffs on ASEAN are over these three. They're the smaller ones. They're the weaker ones. Like Trump didn't dare to put 40% tax tariffs over Malaysia or Thailand, but he put it on the three smaller ones: Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. But the thing that matters in terms of supply chains is all across here, all over here. And this was discussed during there were several summits at the same time in Kuala Lumpur. It was not only the ASEAN summit. There's ASEAN, ASEAN plus 3, ASEAN China, ASEAN with the other members, RCEP, which includes Australia, New Zealand. So we had like probably 5 summits. We had 5 summits in Kuala Lumpur. And they're all discussing the integration of the supply chains now threatened by American tariffs on East Asia. I would say the eastern part of Eurasia, which is already immense, And if the tariffs continue, no problem, because they will continue to do more trade among themselves. All over here, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, even with Central Asia, you name it. And of course with China, which is the #1 trade partner of all of them.